What's going on, y'all? Papa Tez here with another Summoner's Glory video. This time we're going over the Water Phantoms. I'm going to try to take the same route that I did last time, where I do basic going over of the previous kit that they had and go ahead and read out, for the most part, all of their new kit. So we'll try to take that same format here in this video. Let's get into it. All right, so Sea Warrior, what he used to do, we are in the old one. Now we're on the new actually there. So what he used to do, A1, he would attack enemies 3 times, 100 damage, reducing their speed by 20%, which was kind of nuts. Then he would damage all enemies, 180% on the A2. On the A3, he would grant magic armor to an ally, which would increase their physical and magic defense by 50% for 2 turns. And critical hits reduce enemy speed by 50% for 2 turns. So as long as he critted, he was reducing enemy speed like crazy. So extremely good control champ. How has he been changed? Attacks all enemies, causing 120% magic damage with a 30% chance to slow each enemy by 30% for 2 turns. So a bit of a nerf there, but kind of combining some of the skills. And then attacks all enemies, causing 180% damage on the A2. 50% chance to reduce enemies' physical defense and magic defense by 50% for 2 turns. That can go all the way up to 80% and 210 damage. So now he's coming in as kind of that defensive down person. And he also has another skill now, removes all buffs from all enemies. And that can go down to a 4-turn cooldown. So now he can weaken the enemies and he can remove their buffs. So really, really cool. Interesting change there. We'll see how it affects when we go to the live game, but I think that will change up some team comps for sure. But there's so many people to use. So let's talk about Haley next. Old skill, 100% magic defense on the A1 will reduce the magic and physical defense by 15%. Then the A2 attacks all enemies 3 times, dealing 70 magic damage each time and absorbing that attack bar by 25%. Straight yoink. Then increasing the physical defense and magic defense of all teammates by 15%, all the way up to 30%. Really strong. And then she would, 25% chance that she would take a turn in front of one of her allies. So that's what she used to do. But let's take a look at her skills now. Attacks one enemy, causing magic defense equal to 210 magic defense. Magic damage, doing magic defense damage, ? And steals a random buff from the target. If the target is under freeze, an additional attack is granted. So possibility of choosing or yoinking 2 buffs from a target. That's kind of cool. Attacks all enemies on the A2, causing magic damage equal to 260% magic defense with a 75% chance to reduce the enemy's speed by 30%. And additionally reduces enemy's attack bar by 30%. So now she feels stronger. There's a 100% chance of that speed reduction. She's going to take away that attack bar by 30%. It is on a 5-turn cooldown though. So it's going to be strong as far as going against tower content, because you're pretty much only going to go 1 time. You're kind of wanting to nuke down the enemy the best you can. Or you're having enough control that you bring in on the team that it's good to go. All right, so she has another skill that can go down to a 3-turn cooldown and can go up to 100% of removing negative effects from all allies with a 75% chance to reduce healing effect of all enemies by 100%. So that reduction, reduce healing effects can go up to 100%. So really, really cool. And still the passive at the beginning of each turn. 20% chance of placing frozen debuff, which can't be resisted to all enemies for 1 turn. Successfully debuffing attack triggers cooldown of 3 turns. So she'll go until it happens, but there will be a cooldown. But you can book that down to 1 turn, meaning that at the start of every turn, triggers down to 1. And so that's that's solid. That's really solid. This makes her really viable. Mr. Poseidon, are you good now? Let's take a look at his old skills. 120% damage to 3 enemies, 60% chance to taunt. He had an active skill of defending 1 ally from any damage until Poseidon's next turn and increases the user's physical defense by 50% for 2 turns. It did not stack, which is okay. And then he had a passive when dealing damaging a taunting target will restore 10% of the current missing HP. And another passive of where when he was attacked, 60% chance of counterattacking and dealing 120 physical attack. Let's take a look at his new skills. Attacks one enemy causing magic damage equal to 340 magic damage with a 45% chance of reducing the enemy's physical defense and magic defense by 50% for 2 turns. Can go all the way up to 75% with a 280% magic defense. Yeah, he hits pretty hard. And then here on this skill, increases physical defense and magic defense of all allies by 50% for 2 turns and grants counter for 2 turns to each of them. So now he has a AoE counter attack that's on a 3-turn cooldown. That's pretty cool. That's really, really cool. Definitely puts him in the definition of I'm a tank. And then his water shell, the A3, attacks all enemies causing magic damage equal to 280% magic defense and reducing their damage by 50% for 2 turns. Additionally, all enemies are taunted for 2 turns. Now this can go all the way down to what looks like 310 magic defense. I think that's really the big thing. It's just the damage increase there. So we'll stay on a 6-turn cooldown, but that's still huge. At the very beginning, you're just going to get so many turns anyway. So he's going to quickly get back to that skill, especially if you control very, very well. So looking very good. All right, King of Margrad. Before, he would attack 2 enemies, cost 120% damage, and he would reduce their resistance, which is really cool, meaning that you didn't need as much accuracy. He used to summon 4 waves in a row, causing 75 damage each, with a 35% chance of freezing. And then the passive was when you took damage, 35% chance to freeze an enemy. And the other passive, whenever a team member, including King of Margrad, is being damaged, King of Margrad grants 10% chance to mitigate 50% of the incoming damage and activate new turn for that member. So that is pretty cool. That was definitely pretty cool. But how about now? Attacks one enemy, causes 130% magic damage on the A1 with a 45% chance to reduce enemy magic defense and physical defense by 50% for 2 turns. If the target is frozen, additional attack is executed with the same effect. And then on the A2, attacks all enemies, causing 160% magic damage with a 75% chance to place freeze on each target for 1 turn. And it looks like that it can go all the way up to at least a 4-turn cooldown. So AoE freeze there, was it 100%? Yeah, 100% chance of freezing. After being attacked, there's a 20% chance to freeze the attacker for 1 turn. And then at the start of each turn, reduces the speed of random enemy by 30% for 1 turn, triggering a 3-turn cooldown. Again, you can make it to where it happens every turn. So solid. Solid indeed. Solid indeed. And definitely feels like he's going to be a little annoying. So you can put away your frozen axe, I guess your ice saber, and you can use him instead. Use something else. Use something else that'll buff your damage or something like that. That'll be really cool, right? All right, Water Elf. We are on the old one. So what he used to do, 100 damage, 45% chance to bleed. He used to attack 3 enemies with a water blade, dealing 220 magic damage. His passive was crit hits had a 60% chance of reducing the enemy speed. And when attacking, 50% chance of removing 1 positive effect from the enemy. So that's what Mr. Water Elf used to do. Let's take a look now. Attacks 1 enemy, causes physical damage equal to 330 physical defense, and reduces the enemy's attack bar by 20%. Additionally, 35% chance to steal a random buff from the target. And that can go all the way up to 360, with a 60% chance of stealing a random buff. And then A2 attacks all enemies, causing physical damage equal to 260% physical defense, and reducing the physical defense and magic defense by 25% for 2 turns on each target. And a 75% chance to place bleed on each target, which can go up to 100% chance on a 3-turn cooldown. So lowering their defense and hitting them with like, hey, you gonna go slower. Kind of nice. Then on the A3, at the end of each turn, if the user is under the effect of burn, bleed, or poison, their attack bar will be increased by 10%, and HP will be restored by 6% instantly. So looking good, looking good. All right. So the voice is rested. We're gonna try to get through the rest of these now. So let's get it. All right. So Water Ghost. What he used to do: summon a water bomb to attack enemies, 165 damage. Call for wave on the A2, 165 magic damage to all enemies. 3-turn cooldown. And a passive: when he attacked, 35% chance to reduce the enemy speed by 20%. And increase the speed in battle by 20%, I think only for himself. So that was his old passives, but now he's going to attack an enemy, dealing 330 magic defense with a 50% chance to freeze the target for 1 turn. If the target is already under freeze, perfect invisibility will be placed on the ally with the lowest health. Really good to keep them alive. Attacks all enemies, causing magic damage equal to 260% magic defense on the A2. Places a perfect invisibility to the fastest ally for 2 turns. Additionally, 75% chance to decrease the speed of each enemy by 30% for 2 turns. That can be booked out to 100% on the speed decrease on each enemy, and also to a 3-turn cooldown. So really useful. Then the passive is: after being attacked, there is a 10% chance to place freeze on the attacker for 1 turn. And that can go all the way up to 35%. So really, really nice there. All right, let's move on to Mr. Sanctuary Protector. What he used to do: summon a water bomb. Again, they just love having water fights. 100 magic damage to 1 enemy. He would attack 3 enemies using water magic and causing 210 magic damage to each enemy. And they could not be revived if they got killed. When attacking, there is a 35% chance to place an earth mark, which is the passive, on the enemy. When attacking a marked target, all other enemies with the same mark take damage equal to 50% of damage dealt to the target. And the other passive was magic attack increased by 16% for each mark on the battlefield, up to 22%. Let's see how he got changed. So now he attacks an enemy, causing 210 magic damage with the 50% chance to silence the target for 1 turn. That can go up to 75% chance to silence a single enemy. On the A2, he attacks all enemies, causing 140 magic damage, and steals 2 random debuffs with a 50% chance to place damage link on each target for 2 turns. Enemies under the effect of damage link will take 30% of the received damage taken by another enemy with damage link. So this will be very, very useful for your single target nukers. It goes up to 170 damage and looks like a 75% chance to place the damage link on each target. So that can be really, really cool, really useful, especially again for your single target nukers. And then his passive: whenever a critical hit is landed on the user, the speed of the attacker is reduced by 30% for 1 turn. So you build him out with crit rate, you don't even really need to worry about any type of damage with him. Build him out for crit rate so that he's reducing that speed, and keep it rolling. Yeah, that's really cool. Well, actually, it's when a critical hit's landed on him, so that's a little bit different. A little bit different. And it could go all the way down and have its cooldown to basically every turn, so kind of cool. Or it can just land on every person. Let me take a look here. So yes, we do have Siren. All right, we'll take a look at her old skills. She bite people, 150 physical damage. Then the next skill was a single target, 255 damage. Hit on a 4-turn cooldown. Next hit, or the passive, 35% chance of freezing the enemy for 1 turn, all the way up to 50%. And a second passive, when damage is taken, 50% to chance to increase her own speed for 30%. All right, let's take a look at the new skills. Attacks one enemy, causing 130% physical damage with a 50% chance to freeze the target for 1 turn. That percentage can go up to 75%. If the target is already under freeze, another attack is performed, causing the same damage. So she can have a double hitter there. Attacks one enemy, causing 360 physical damage and reducing its attack bar by 100%. So she completely yoinks the attack bar, then 75% chance, booked up to 100% chance to decrease the target speed for 3 turns and freeze the target. So she's just yoinking them down, freezing them, which in essence gives you a double turn there. So really, really nice skill. And the passive, when attacking frozen enemies, restores the team HP by 20% up to 26%. Really, really good. So she's pretty solid now in my eyes. She can really work well with your team. All right, Sea Hunter. What he used to do, he would do 100 physical damage with a 50% chance of inflicting a bleed. His A2 would attack an enemy 2 times in a row, 110 damage each time. His passive, every time Sea Hunter loses 30% of health, physical damage is increased by 20%. And that will go up to 15% increments of HP loss and up to 20% on that physical attack. Also, he had another passive. When being attacked, 35% chance of counterattacking and dealing physical damage equal to 120% of the attack. Let's take a look at what his skills should look like now. Attack one enemy, causing 130% physical damage and reducing the target's attack bar by 10%. Just a little bit. Good enough. Every successful critical hit will gain an additional attack causing the same damage. So yeah, if he crits, hits again. It kind of is crazy. Like, is he just going to hit you till you're down, though, if you got max crit? So, I don't know. Interesting. All right. A2 randomly attacks enemies 3 times, causing 120% physical damage with each strike. Every attack has a 75% chance of reducing the target speed by 30% for 1 turn and placing bleed for 2 turns. So he does the bleed, and that can be booked up to 100% and go down to a 2-turn cooldown. So it can really hit hard, and also 150 damage. Then the passive, when attacked by an enemy, there's a 20% chance to counter with deadly bites, which is the first hit, which means he'll hit. If he crits again, he'll hit again. So that's actually really, really cool. So really, really cool. He's definitely a little deadly. All right, Tide Psychic. He used to summon water bombs. Again, they just love throwing water bombs. 100 magic damage. Used to bring a wave of 180 damage to enemies, ride the tides on a 2-turn cooldown, and then a passive where there was a 35 booked up to 50% chance of freezing when attacking. And he increased his magic attack in battle 25% initially, upwards to 50%. Let's take a look now. Attack one enemy, causing 140 magic damage. If the target is under the effect of freeze, additional attack will be performed, causing the same damage, all the way up to 170. Then, A2 clears 2 random debuffs from all enemies with a 75% chance to freeze each target for 1 turn. Upon using the skill, another turn is granted by the user. So this actually can go down to a 4-turn cooldown, 100% chance to remove random debuffs, and 75% chance to freeze. So really amazing skill there. And then here, attacks all enemies, causing 170% magic damage with a 30% chance to reduce an enemy's speed by 50% for 1 turn. And that can go down to a 5-turn cooldown and 200 damage, 55% chance on the speed reduction. So he's definitely looking solid. He's definitely looking solid. Let's talk about Mr. Shark Spearman now. So what he used to do, he liked throwing spears instead of water bombs. 100 damage on the A1. A2, 255 damage, and would inflict bleed for 2 turns on 1 enemy. The passive was 35% chance to inflict bleed on an enemy for 2 turns, up to 50% while attacking. And when attacking, bleeding enemies deals 60% additional physical damage, up to 75% extra damage. So he was solid. Let's take a look. Is he still solid now? So he attacks one enemy, causing 220% physical damage, with a 45% chance to reduce the enemy's physical defense and magic defense by 50% for 2 turns. That can go up to 70% and 250 physical damage hit. That's the A1. A2 attacks all enemies, causes 150 physical damage with a 75% chance of reducing excuse me, reducing healing effects by 100% on the target. That can go up to 100% and can go down to a 3-turn cooldown. And targets whose HP is below 30% after the initial attack will be attacked again for a halved amount. So it'll be able to do 225 damage. And he still has a passive, but it's changed. When attacking, there's a 10% chance to freeze the attacker. Chance increases to up to 75%. So I don't know. I kind of like his old kit with the bleeds a little bit better. It kind of fit a shark a little bit more so. But now he's kind of a little bit of a debuffer too at the same time. So he does his thing. All right. Now we have Tide Adept. Used to do missiles instead of water bombs or spears. 100 damage on the A1. 310 damage on the A2. Would grant himself 20% bonus damage up to 26%. That was the first passive. And the second passive is when attacking, 35% chance to reduce the enemy speed by 20%. Upwards of 50% or 50% chance for 2 turns. Let's take a look at what he's doing now. Is he better? Attacks all enemies causing 100 magic damage. So instead of a single target, all enemies, and a 40% chance to reduce enemies' accuracy by 50% for 2 turns. The damage can go up to 130. And the chance of that accuracy to drop up to 65%. So that's the A1. A2 attacks one enemy causing 370 magic damage with a 75% chance to reduce the target's crit rate and crit damage by 30% for 2 turns. That can go up to 400 damage and down to a 3-turn cooldown and can be 100% on that one. That's really nice. So you can really somewhat take a nuker from nuking your team, possibly. You're just mitigating their damage because you can target a nuker specifically. All right. And take a look at this other active skill. Increase the damage of all allies by 50% for 2 turns with a 50% chance of removing perfect invisibility from all enemies. And that can go up to 100% chance of removing it. Only on a 6-turn cooldown though. So they'll probably get back to it quicker, but that leaves a window of opportunity for you to attack. Really solid. Really, really solid. Makes them way viable. Makes them super viable. All right, we'll take a look at the Dead Sword. He used to do 150 damage all the way up to 210 damage on a single target on the A1. He had a second single target that did 400 damage and placed a bleed. And 25% chance of freezing the target for 1 turn, all the way up to 40%. Upwards of 500 damage. So just a straight nuke right there. Then there was a passive at the end of Dead Sword's turn, 60% chance of increasing the speed of the entire team by 25%. That could go up to 75% for 2 turns. And when attacking, Dead Sword has an 80% chance to reduce an enemy's fury by 2%, delaying their ability to use enchantments, all the way up to 95%. So definitely PvP'd out. But he's different now. Let's take a look. Attacks one enemy causes 130 physical damage. The attack is repeated if the enemy's HP is below 50%, all the way up to 160 damage. And then the second skill is still a nuke. Attacks one enemy, causing 350% physical damage and true damage equal to 5% of the enemy's max HP. The effect is reduced against bosses. This attack ignores invulnerability and invincibility. So just a straight nuke, 360 or 380 and up to 10% of the enemy's current HP. That means that this skill is going to hit like a truck, 100% guaranteed. And the passive enemies killed cannot be revived. And after each kill, 75% chance for an immediate turn, all the way up to 100% chance. So that's really cool. This is a 4-turn skill there, so you won't be able to get back to that, but you'll be able to turn this into a 3-turn skill, basically. So if you set your team up, you can really do some crazy things with the Dead Sword. That looks very alive to me. Just saying. All right, Sapphire Colossus. What he used to do: slash an enemy, 100 physical damage, 255 physical damage on the A2, all the way up to 280. The passive, 25% chance of freezing the enemy when attacking, up to 40%. And on the other passive, When taking damage, 50% chance of the user's physical defense increased by 50% for 1 turn, up to 65%. Let's see what the changes are. Attack one enemy causing physical damage equal to 330% physical defense. So defensive character. 30% chance to reduce enemy damage by 50% for 1 turn. It can go up to 360 and reduce the enemy damage by 50%, 55% chance to do that now on the A1 once it's fully skilled out. A2 randomly attacks 3 enemies, causing physical damage equal to 180% physical defense, with a 75% chance to taunt each attack enemy for 1 turn. Simultaneously, damage immunity placed on them for 1 turn. And so that taunt can go up to 100%, 210 damage. Really nice skill. It's not AoE, but still really nice skill, especially with the damage immunity. Of course, if you have somebody who ignores damage immunity on the A1, like I think maybe Ankaris or something like that, you're screwed. Then here, the last active skill places a retribution shield on all allies, reflecting 30% of received damage for 2 turns, and increase physical defense and magic defense on each ally by 50% for 2 turns, and that can go down to a 4-turn cooldown. So really nice skill there. Definitely puts them in the tank category and makes them nice. All right, that's basically it for all of the water phantoms. I mean, we do have Gabler. I guess we could go over Gabler real quick at least. Attacks an enemy, 120 damage, 25% chance to freeze. Restores 1 ally's HP by 150 on the user's magic. The passive, when an ally deals damage, 25% chance of executing a coordinated attack. And increases crit rate in battle by 15%, upwards of 30%. And the changes are, looks like they are all the same for Gabler. All the same for Gabler. All right, and as usual, we won't go over the skill phantoms there. But yeah, that's pretty much it on those there. So yeah, we've gone over all of them. And the last that we have to go over is the light phantom. So I'll catch you guys on the next video. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe for more Summoner's Glory content. I will talk to you later. Peace.